Hello, and welcome to the Wine Educate podcast. I'm your host, Joanne Close, and this is episode 75. We're going to do something just a little bit different today. We're covering a topic that's not going to feature heavily in your tests, but it's a topic I think is very interesting. And I'm teaching a class on it on Tuesday in the shop, and I wanted a chance to talk about it with you. We're going to discuss Alto Piemonte and Valle d'Aosta. I thought it was appropriate for me to discuss it with you because it helps to put Piedmont into context overall. And you'll see why as I go through this region. My husband and I were in Piedmont this summer visiting our friend Mario. When we left him, we hopped in the car and we drove to Gattinara. So from Nizza Monferrato to Gattinara is only about 72 miles, and it's a nice, flat, straight line, so it took us about only an hour and 20 minutes. And I didn't research the region beforehand, but I was really struck by the landscape. I was surprised because it was very sort of marshy looking, and they had some similar birds to what we have here in Louisiana, like cranes and egrets, things like that. And a quick little search, and I realized that we were driving through the rice fields. And this region in between Nizza, Monferrato, and Gattinara is responsible for about 90% of Italy's rice. Pretty interesting, but it makes sense considering all the risotto you get in Piedmont, right? We went to Gattinara, and I was particularly excited to visit a co-op. Different growers can sell their grapes to the co-op, and then they end up making a wine that can be sold into the market. Sometimes producers just don't grow enough grapes to make their own wine, so it really makes sense. The wines from co-ops are generally not thought of as particularly noteworthy. However, there are exceptions, and one of these exceptions is here in Gattinara, and that's the Cantina Sociale di Gattinara. I was like a giddy schoolgirl getting to see one of my exciting landmarks that I keep talking about, and now I was going to visit. I had emailed them ahead of time to see about setting up a tour, and someone emailed me back to say, no, sorry, we don't do tours. And I took that to mean that maybe I'd email them too late. So I thought if I showed up, maybe then I could get a tour. Well, okay. I walked into the little room, and there was a very nice gentleman there, and he goes, no, we just don't offer tours. They are a working cooperative. They were founded in 1908, so been around for a very long time. And about 40 families got together, 15 hectares total of land, and just been in operation for a very long time. This experience I had visiting one of my historic landmarks really cemented for me the overall feeling of Alto Piemonte, in that there is a long history here in this region. And the region has shrunk in size dramatically from its heyday. However, it is now being put back on the map and is starting to grow again. It is really an exciting time for this region. Let's back up a little bit and talk about the history of Alto Piemonte. It is hard to imagine, but back in the 19th century, it used to be massive. It was about 40,000 hectares under vine. There were more hectares here than there were in Langhe at the time. And the wines of Gattinara in particular had a very good reputation for their Nebbiolo, one that surpassed that of the wines of Barolo and Barbaresco, which is fascinating. So what happened? Well, phylloxera happened. We know phylloxera, that louse that really caused so much damage all over Europe, and it wiped out the vines. Then they had 2 world wars and mass migration. People just weren't wanting to live in this region that was a bit difficult to do farming. So the vineyards shrank drastically. When I say drastically, Gattinara is one of the largest in this region, and it has 111 hectares currently under vine. That is not a lot. And the other DOCs and DOCGs range from about 83 hectares all the way to 8 hectares. Really tiny. Some of them were at risk of just going extinct altogether. It is not easy to grow vines in this area because of the steep terraces. It's hard work. However, recently, and I mean really recently, like in the last 15 years, there's been a resurgence in this area. Land under vine is slowly starting to increase again, and investors, particularly those from Barolo, are coming in and investing in this area. It makes total sense to me. Barolo, Barbaresco are very expensive areas. They make tremendous wines. However, it's expensive and also getting warmer. The vines in Alto Piemonte are higher up in elevation. They have more of this alpine influence, so more of a diurnal shift, cooler growing, which helps when the world itself is just getting a bit warmer. So what grows here? The big grape is Nebbiolo, but it's not known as Nebbiolo here. They call it Spanna, comes from the local dialect, and it refers to the grape clusters or span and how they're sort of spread out in shape. There are other grapes here that are allowed to be blended with Nebbiolo, things like Vespolina, Uva Rara, and Croatina, depending on the DOC. But many of these producers now are choosing to make their wines 100% Nebbiolo. I highly encourage you to seek out these wines. You could probably get some wines from Gattinara, maybe even the Cooperative. They're going to be a lot less expensive than Barolo and Barbaresco, and I think equally as interesting in many ways. Even further north, we have Val d'Aosta. This is Italy's smallest region. It's its own region. And if you drive from Gattinara to Val d'Aosta, it takes about an hour and a half. Now, that's only 52 miles as the crow flies. But look, we're in the mountains. You've got the hills and the twists and turns, so it's just going to take longer. The town of Aosta is one of the most charming towns I've been to in quite some time. If you love food, it feels like you've just died and gone to heaven going to Aosta and doing a little shopping there. I'm not the kind of gal that really loves shopping, but when it comes to food shopping, yes, I am in. And the cheese shops and the charcuterie shops and the pastry shops, all of these were the highest end artisanal shops I'd seen in a long time. Per square foot, I've never seen more artisanal shops along a street like this. It was simply marvelous. We were there for just one night. It was definitely not enough time. Hope to go back soon and bring the second suitcase. There's also a lot of mythology involved in this town with mountains. There's legends of dragons and the devil and fairies. It really is reflected in the architecture and the mythology in this whole area. Aosta is the last town you get to before you pass under Monte Bianco or Mont Blanc, depending if you're on the Italian side or the French side. Because of this, you'll see both Italian and French written on the wine labels here. The DOC structure here is pretty simple. It's Val d'Aosta DOC, and it covers the whole region. The whole region under vine total is about 469 hectares. What are the grapes grown here? There are a ton of grapes here. They have influence from the Swiss grapes, from some French grapes, other Italian grapes. The three grapes that make up about a third of what's planted are Petit Rouge, which is about 93 hectares, good old Nebbiolo, about 43 hectares, and Piedmont Blanc, which is 38 hectares. The most interesting thing here is the elevation. The elevation ranges roughly from about 300 to 1,300 meters. Grapes just don't grow above 1,600 meters. It's just not suitable for grapes. So we are pushing the limit of where grapes can grow. Indeed, the Piedmont vineyards represent the highest vineyards in Europe at about 1,200 meters. I'm really excited for Tuesday. We get to crack into a bunch of these wines to taste them for the class. If you are local, I still have a few spots left. And if you're not local, do not despair. We offer these classes year-round here at our shop, The Independent. Just take a look at our website and see if there's a class coming up that's interesting to you. Bit of a different podcast than normal, but fear not, friend. Next week, we're going back to our regularly scheduled wine laws, and I'm going to keep hitting up the classics. So we're going to do Chianti, we'll do Rioja. I do want to cover the Languedoc-Roussillon, and we'll keep going with the classics. Okay? Have a super weekend.